Hey everyone, Osiris Frost here. When we last spoke, I broke down my personal approach to the recent anniversary sale, and while I set out on day one to execute that plan as I drew it up, as the old saying goes, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Some of you know that I picked up a Kraken when that ship was concepted back at CitizenCon, but a couple days into the anniversary sale, CIG sent out this email offering idris-p owners the opportunity to upgrade their ships with a new weapons loadout that would make it better able to withstand a Kraken loaded with mixed fighters and bombers. Prior to this development, it was my firmly held opinion that the Kraken was likely to beat the idris-p in a fight, as it could simply keep its distance and avoid the railgun while deploying vastly more fighters and bombers to overwhelm the Idris. With the advent of this idris-k upgrade kit, the presumptive balance of power seemed to swing back toward the Idris. This information went out a day or two before the Aegis day of the sale, and so I figured, what the hell, I'll melt the Kraken and try to get an Idris. So the day arrived, and I pushed the button, and poof, the Kraken was history. Fortunately, I have two-factor authentication enabled, and so should you, by the way, so it's in my buybacks if I ever want to get it back. Anyway, the appointed hour arrived, and 26 seconds after the Aegis sale page went live, I made it to the Idris listing, and credit Idrises were already gone. Bummer. I would have liked to have had at least one in my buybacks to make a final decision later on between which of the two ships would be a better fit for my fleet, but it was not to be. CIG only held one round of Idris sales this anniversary. Last year, they held a few rounds, with announced times to accommodate players around the globe. They continue to labor under this delusion that there might be too many of a given ship in the verse, but this is more arbitrary CIG silliness. The quantity of hull-limited ships is a self-correcting problem. Far more people own capital ships than can possibly crew them, and even fewer are capable of commanding a warship in combat. We're going to reach a point where the rubber is going to meet the road on the issue of people's expectations of fielding their massive fleets, and the reality that NPC crews won't hack it in a lot of situations, plus many other players would rather be the captain of their own ship than a minion on someone else's. This is the real reason we're never going to see too many capital ships in the verse. Artificial scarcity is an unnecessary step to prevent a problem that will handle itself. But anyway, let's move on. Upon further reflection, I expect that I'd end up choosing the Kraken over the Idris even if I had both in my buybacks. I've always favored versatility in online games. When I played World of Warcraft, once upon a time, I played as a druid, and with one character I got to alternate between tanking, DPS, and healing. With the Kraken, I'll be able to switch between combat and industrial support, tailoring my capabilities based on which ships are landed on my flight deck at any given time. That sounds a lot more appealing to me than having an equivalent ship that is focused strictly on combat, like the Idris. And that versatility makes even more sense when I consider that even now I'm not fully committed to a specific type of gameplay. That said, my tastes are leaning more and more toward the outlaw way of life in Star Citizen, and I think that the Kraken is a better choice to support the myriad opportunities that exist for an outlaw, from offensive action to providing a mobile base to transporting vast amounts of illegal goods. But that's been fairly obvious to everyone since the ship was concepted, so let me backtrack a little bit to the aftermath of my failed Idris attempt. So now, it's not even halfway through the anniversary sale, and suddenly I have a boatload more store credits than I did when I planned out my week. Awesome, right? So I start stacking loads of CCUs for every conceivable ship buy, everything I've even remotely been interested in, just in case. And in light of my outlaw revelations, I started thinking about, what is my go-to base ship going to be? The Cutlass Black is a no-brainer for a pirate, right? Not so fast. We're going to be getting a brand new flight model in 3.5, and with it will come a lot of much-needed improvements. Among these, we'll see turret and missile gameplay passively improve as a result of these flight changes. Accordingly, rating small or medium scale shipping would benefit from subbing one or two Cutlasses in a group for a missile boat like the Freelancer Miss. The Cutlass edges it out in cargo capacity, and I think it has better guns, but those missiles are going to make short work of a fighter escort and might even be useful for knocking out the engines on a freighter. It is still a Freelancer, so it's ugly as hell, but it also has the added benefit of not being a suspected pirate ship on site. So I ended up choosing this as my base ship and applying the upgrade to one of the Warbond Anvil arrows that I splurged on during the anniversary sale. I'll test this out for a while, and I can always melt it and go back to the black if it doesn't meet my expectations. Oh, and speaking of flight model changes, after 3.5, the Santok Yai, whenever it goes flight ready, will be the best fighter in the game, mark my words. But continuing on, after last week's RTV, I'm very hopeful we'll see the Mercury Star Runner flight ready sometime in 2019. That's another low-key crime ship which has a number of favorable attributes, as I discussed when it was concepted. Beyond that, I suppose I'll eventually buy back my Kraken, but that leaves a lot of room between the Star Runner and the Kraken for useful pirate ships. One of the ones I'm looking forward to next year is the Corsair, and if it comes with built-in interdiction, as I think it will, then it's hard to imagine not adding one to my hangar. I also continue to be interested in a number of not necessarily illegal pursuits, for example, salvage. I've talked before about how salvage is one of the most well-rounded professions as it incorporates elements of exploration, combat, and trade in addition to its own gameplay loop. When the Vulture came out last year, I had nothing but good things to say, but time has tempered my expectations, and I imagine that the starter industry ships will not be immune to the planned obsolescence that is built into any other starter ship. I think the Tier 2 industry ships will be where it's really at in terms of finding a good balance of low crew requirement, industrial capacity, operating costs, and worthwhile usage opportunities. In that vein, I'm planning to upgrade my Vulture to whatever salvage ship comes between it and a reclaimer, and I'm betting that we'll get to see that concept along with the other Tier 2 industry ships sometime in the coming year. The last toy on my wish list is the Titan suit, and while we don't know much about it yet, it is said to have combat and industrial applications. I am expecting a high degree of modularity here whenever we finally see the concept unveiled, and my gut tells me that that'll be early next year based on nothing more than CIG's penchant for tipping their hand before a concept, and also the recent ATV segment on the Titan suit. But who knows? So tell me what concept ships you're looking forward to in 2019 in the comments down below. And until next time, I've been Osiris Frost. Thanks for watching. That's all for today's show. Thanks for watching. If you're new to Star Citizen, or you know someone who's thinking of playing, you or they can earn 5,000 UEC on your account by registering with my referral code, which you can find in the show notes down below. If you have any questions, feedback, or episode suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And if you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.